Okay, yes, you are called into the prophetic. The question is, what's next? There's so many people who know that they're actually called into the prophetic, but they don't know how to respond to it. They don't know how to go about pursuing and fulfilling that prophetic destiny. On this video, I'm going to be giving you practical steps on how can you respond to the prophetic call of God upon your life, and moreover, how can you fulfill your prophetic destiny? How can you walk in your prophetic destiny? Stay tuned. God bless you. Okay, YouTube, this is Apostle Bongani Blacksmith. I'm back with another video. On this video, like I said on the intro, we are looking at practical ways on how you can respond to the call of God upon your life. I know a lot of people from back home where I'm coming from, even in the Gauteng province. In fact, I know a lot of people over the years. I've known a lot of people who are singing the song of, I have a prophetic calling. I am called, I'm a prophet. But if you look at them, they are not anywhere near to fulfilling that prophetic calling or walking in the prophetic destiny. They actually live like lay people who have no call into the temple, or rather call to walk with God in the prophetic. So that can also happen to you, even if you have a prophetic calling, because the fact that you have a calling, it doesn't mean the call is gonna get automatically fulfilled. Actually, it's even possible to be called by God to walk in a certain grace and actually go to the grave without you walking or fully walking in that grace. So this is why this video is important, because I'm going to be guiding you on how you can actually, yes, you have the prophetic call of God upon your life, but then how do you fulfill it? Okay, so I'm going to give you about, let me check because I have some tips for you. So I'm going to give you about 6 tips on how you can actually respond to the prophetic call of God. So I'm talking to people who are sensing the prophetic call of God upon their lives. You have received a prophecy about you being called into the prophetic. You have had maybe dreams about you maybe being called into the prophetic. Whatever way you have discerned the call of God upon your life, I'm talking to that group today. You know you have a prophetic calling. Do you want to know what's next? Like, how can I now fulfill that prophetic call of God upon my life? Okay, tip number 1, it's going to be you need to confirm the call. You see, if you are called into the one, if you are called into the prophetic, you need to understand that the call into the prophetic is not a call to glory. I know the prophetic is shiny, it's bling bling, it's glamorous from a distance. But if you are called as a prophet, you are called to become the servant of God. You are called to lay down your life for God's people and for God's mandate and purposes. So, being called into prophetic is a sacrifice. It's a very demanding sacrifice. So, and that means it's not gonna be without challenges. Okay, that means it's not going to be without a price. You see, salvation is for free. It's, I mean, you are saved by grace through faith in the finished works of Jesus Christ. But to walk with God, there's a price you must pay to walk with God. That's why I told you in one of our sessions, I think on Facebook, I said, when God calls you, when you are called into the office, you need to understand that God is about to separate you. Okay, so in other words, you're no longer gonna live like civilians. You're not gonna no longer live like everyday people. Your life's not going to be normal like everyday people, because you are being called to walk into the prophetic office, to walk with God as a prophet. It's a very serious issue. So, but here's the thing: don't make the mistake of maybe having a dream or a desire, or maybe sensing the call of God upon your life, or receiving a prophecy, and then based on that you decide you're a prophet, or based on that you decide to pursue the prophetic ministry. Because things, your journey is not going to be an easy one. That's why I told you the other day on our Facebook live session that sometimes when I see someone receiving a call that is a prophet, it's like you can walk up to them and give them a hug and tell them it's going to be all right, because you know the process they're about to go through. Because there's what we call the making of a prophet. The fact that you receive a prophecy or a revelation that you're a prophet, it doesn't mean you're a prophet tomorrow. It means now you're going to go through the process, the making process, where the Lord's going to be developing you and making you as a prophet. So the first thing you want to do is you want confirmation. Don't go into the ministry based on just one prophecy, or maybe you're sensing the call, or maybe you seeing certain maybe prophetic functions in your life, and then you conclude that you're a prophet, because it's very much possible to be prophetically gifted without being called to walk before God as a prophet. And if you are just prophetically gifted, but you're not called and predestined to become a prophet, and you make yourself a prophet, you are not going to have what it takes for you to fulfill the assignment. You are not going to have what it takes to travel the whole road. Because if someone is just gifted prophetically, there's going to be a limit to how far they can go in the prophetic. But if someone is now a specific call and is the predetermined purpose of God for a person to walk before God in the power and the spirit of the prophetic, which is the spirit of Elijah, then the person is going to be given certain resources, abilities, certain graces that are going to be able to sustain that person in their quest to fulfill our prophetic destiny. So the first thing you want to confirm, and confirming might mean you might maybe allow God to speak to you. Let's say the Lord spoke to you through a dream. Then you might also seek confirmation by maybe seeking two different prophets, to confirm the call, to confirm what you have heard in your life. If you have been prophesied by one prophet, you also don't run straight away after you receive the prophecy, but you pray to God to confirm. God will send normally people that do not know each other, and they will come and say the same thing to you. This is how you can confirm, right? And the other thing, if maybe the Lord has spoken through a prophet, one or two, you can also ask the Lord to speak directly to you. It's very important to hear him speaking to you. It's very important to hear. Like, here's the thing. Here's what is very important. What the key, the heart of the whole thing of confirming is that you want to be sure beyond doubt that you are really called by God as a prophet. You are not calling yourself as a prophet. You are not calling yourself into the prophetic. So that when the going gets tough, you do not start questioning the call. Because if you don't do that, things are going to get very tough somewhere along the way. And when things get tough somewhere along the way, you might doubt the call. You might actually doubt that am I really called into the prophetic? Are you getting it? So it's very important. This is tip number one that I'm giving to you. So let's go into tip number two. But tip number one, I think, is, for me, is one of the most important concepts, because they will decide how much you're gonna go in, how deep you're gonna dive in, how much you're going to sacrifice for you to. So I mean, every other thing I'm gonna say after this first tip, it's contingent upon the first tip. Confirm. It's very important to confirm. Don't just take people's word for it. Okay. So and I see this a lot in the prophetic, that when people have received someone as a prophet or a prophetic voice and they trust the person, they stop wanting to verify the things that are there being told by the person as coming from the Lord. See, like, if maybe I prophesy one of the people in our prophetic community who has been following me, following my prophetic ministry, they've seen my accuracy in the prophetic and stuff, they might get to a place where they're like, it was said by the Blacksmith. Especially maybe my sons, they were like, okay, it's said by my dad, and then they just take it, then they run with it without confirming the word of the Lord. You see, but you have a responsibility as a recipient of the prophetic to confirm every prophetic word that you receive. You get it? So this is why Scripture says, let one or two. The Bible says, let one or two prophets speak, and let one judge. So in the New Testament, even biblical days, when someone was prophesying, there will actually be other prophets who will be judging the prophecy, because there could be a human factor. So can you imagine now taking someone's word, a human word, and building your entire prophetic, your entire life around it, because you've received that word as a prophetic word from God without you confirming and verifying if the word was indeed from God. You see, so everything else I'm gonna say after this is really contingent on the first tip. On, you have to be serious. You have to really confirm before you step out. Because there are some people who have not even confirmed, but they are already out there trying to fulfill the prophetic. But they're not even sure that they're called into the prophetic. That doubt is gonna hold you back. That doubt is gonna delay how quick you can actually move. So you wanna settle it and confirm it and be sure, without any reasonable doubt, that okay, I'm called to be a prophet. I'm called to be a seer. Okay, tip number 2. Once you have confirmed and you are sure now without any doubt, I am the prophet, I am called to be the seer, now it's time to get a mentor. Okay, it's time. There's this trend, there's this new tendency, a trend in the kingdom of God, of people no longer look for mentors, especially I think it's the help of technology, like here. Like, for example, you can learn from me on this YouTube channel, be following me, but the information is not going to be tailored for you, because I'm not just talking to you, but I'm talking to everyone else who's listening to me. So my message in a way kind of becomes general, because I'm addressing the entire community. I'm not speaking to an individual person. But if now I were to mentor you individually as a person, then I would speak to you prophetically, and my instruction to you would be tailored to you, because there are not two prophetic callings in the kingdom that are the same. We can both be called into the prophetic, but there's going to be some differences in how we're going to operate, in how God's going to speak to us, and how God is going to use us. You understand? So every person is different. Their call is going to be different. Their journey is going to be different. So having a mentor, it helps you in that you, especially a mentor who is in the prophetic, because I mean, you cannot say you're called into the prophetic, then you seek someone to mentor you who is not in the prophetic. I mean, what are they going to say? How are they going to help you? This is not a book a knowledge thing. This is a grace thing. You need someone who's able to hear God, someone who's able to see in the realms of the spirit, someone who can be actually able to look into your life and understand your bestowments and understand your bequements and begin to understand your grace configuration and begin to understand the type of call and begin to understand the person who can even see where are you called to stand in the prophetic. Not only just that you are called to in the prophetic. The person who will know, are you a seer, are you a seer, or are you a Nabi prophet? You understand? So all those things are important, but then you, by just following the random prophets and people who are teaching here on YouTube and just people who are following or teaching on television stuff, the things you're gonna get, but they are not going to go very far. You understand? So in other words, even this YouTube channel should serve to you as a guidepost. You should come to hear me speak. Every time I release a video, you should watch it as a guidepost. I'm pointing you in a certain direction, but you must go and travel that journey. You see? So a mentor is very important, because a mentor is better than a video. A mentor is better than a book. Because like even a book, you could read a book, let's say the book is written by a seer and you are a Nabi and you're reading a book written by a seer. And the seer is busy giving you advices in the prophetic as if you are called to be a seer like him, only to find that you're called to be a Nabi. So although the information might be accurate, the information is going to frustrate you, because you're going to begin to develop expectations of things that the Lord has not called you to walk into. So this is why some people are frustrated by their prophetic calling, because they don't have mentors. They have general knowledge. They don't have prophetic information and instruction that is tailored for their individual prophetic needs. So the issue of getting a mentor cannot be overemphasized. You need to get someone in the prophetic that you can get personal attention, you can get access, you can get personal contact, so that you can also be able to even ask questions, but also to get that tailored training, instruction according to the unique bestowments and bequements of God upon your life. That's very, very important. So today, so many people it's easy. You just browse through YouTube. You just buy a book. You just on television, just follow your favorite prophets and stuff. You just receive general knowledge. You develop unrealistic expectations because you are not called maybe like the prophet who is teaching. Like for example, I've seen a lot of Nabi prophets frustrated because they've been following seer prophets who it is their province, it is their domain to see visions and to move in the dream realm and stuff. So, and then a Nabi is now receiving instruction from a seer, and then suddenly the Nabi now wants to be operating like a seer, and only to find that it is actually not his elements or her elements. And then the person becomes frustrated. They then feel like the Lord doesn't talk to them. But the problem is that you are receiving accurate. You might be receiving accurate information, the truth, but the truth that is not for you. That is for someone who's called maybe to walk in the seer realm in the prophetic. When you are actually called to walk in the Nabi realm of the prophetic. You understanding? So getting a mentor, that's where it's gonna help you. Okay, it's gonna even actually understanding this information also is gonna help you to choose your mentor carefully. You have to know certain things, like which stream of the prophetic are you called into? Are you called to walk as a Nabi prophet, which are they are inspired hearers and speakers and teachers, or are you called to walk as a seer, which are they very visual and predictive in nature? So if you are called to walk as a seer, you might actually want to get. It might be very preferable for you to get a prophetic mentor who is a seer. Not unless you get a Nabi prophet also who has experience and knowledge in the seer realm, and they can be able to teach you. But the smaller details, they will make a difference between how quick you can be able to begin to operate in the prophetic and how long it might take you to actually begin to operate in the prophetic. So you need to get a mentor. You have confirmed it. After you have confirmed it, now you are serious. You get a mentor. So you don't learn haphazardly. You don't learn loosely. You don't just become a student of everyone. But you must have a master. You must find your master. You must find your teacher. You must find your instructor. Okay, where I'm a disciple. I'm a disciple of this teacher. I'm a disciple of this master. And then you begin to give yourself to their teaching. Okay, you establish, and here's the thing. While I'm still on the issues of mentorship, I'm aware that it can be very difficult to find mentorship. And I spoke about this again some time ago on one of our Facebook live sessions. I don't know if some of you are listening to these things. No one is just going to give you their time just like that. Like, I'm a prophet. You walk up to someone, you want to be your mentor. I'm a prophet. Can you mentor me? There are things you are ignoring. Things like the person has a life. He or she, they have a ministry, they have family, they have many other things that are going in their lives. So if you are coming to increase their workload, they are not likely to accept you, not unless they are running prophetic schools, in which case they can just put you in the sea of other students and you can just learn among other students. But to get that personal relationship with the mentor that I'm talking about right now, because I'm not just talking about following someone, but I'm talking about someone that you can actually get attention from that person, and they can be able to help you on a personal level, not just on a corporate level. So, and I said to you, one easy way to connect with a mentor and get someone that you can have personal access to is that when you go to a mentor, think about how can you make that mentor's life easy, or how can you make that mentor's work easy. Like, think in terms of how can I serve this person? How can I become a solution to this person? Because no matter how great and big a person is, they have some kind of work that occupies them. So when you now when you present yourself now as a solution to the person, you are, in other words, you're not just coming to increase the person's workload, but you are coming to present yourself as someone who can actually help the person to maybe run the ministry, maybe manage their students, manage their teachings, and all of that. So once you do that, you are serving. But your service is gonna give you the proximity. It's gonna give you the closeness. It's gonna give you the access that you actually need to the person. Get it? And it's easy now for the person now to make time for you, to open up to you, to connect with you, and to really kind of teach you and take you by the hand and walk with you. Why? Because you didn't just come as another piece of work in their world, in their life, but you also came, although the things you want from the person, the things you want to receive from the person, the things you want to learn from the person, but you didn't just go and say, help me, because this is the attitude. I get this attitude a lot. People approach me and ask me to mentor them or teach them as if like I must do it. As if like, yeah, like it's as if they're like, you're a man of God, help me, I need to do this. Sometimes it sounds powerful, but you always have to remember that when you go into someone's world who's already established and functioning in the prophetic, they already have students, they already have things that they're committed to. So how do you then become a priority? How do you then become that close to that person so that you can get the instruction, tailored instruction that you did from the person? It's very simple. Find ways you can serve that person. Part of becoming a disciple is becoming a servant. You see, discipleship class starts with you going to chop the wood. If we are living in classical antiquity, you chop the wood and you carry the water. Before enlightenment, you chop the wood, you carry the water. You chop the wood, you carry the water. Before enlightenment. So a lot of people, they don't want now the service part. They just want to come to impart me. Like really, you just got here yesterday. You've not even been with me for a year. You've not even been with me for 2 months. Why must I impart you? Because we don't impart what we have not discipled. You get it? I mean, I don't even know you. You understand what I'm talking about? So there has to be a relationship. So in other words, you must seek a relationship with that master. But in seeking a relationship with that master, you need to find a way, how can I serve the person? Because you serving the person is going to give you that proximity, the closeness that you need with the person so that you can build the relationship with the person. And it can grow into fantastic relationship, or it can even actually turn into friendship, wherein you now have constant access to the person and the information and all of that. But first and foremost, learn how to appeal to other people's self-interest. See, don't be selfish, because some people, they ask mentorship and to be a student in a very selfish way. God has called me, help me, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want this, I want this. Okay, fine. I mean, you have only talked about what you want. Have you ever considered what the person you're asking help from, what they want? You see? So if you just kind of become less selfish, and you can easily find a master. Let's say, for example, the person is running a church. You can go into their church and actually look what department the leader is actually having challenges, and you have skill, ability to respond to those responsibilities. And you approach the person, can I help you with this? Can I help you with the children's ministry? Or you come into the church, you clean the churchyard, you're there in time, you clean the chairs, you pack the chairs, you make everything. Like whatever it is that you can be able to do for the person, to get closer to the person, to connect with the person, you do that. So if you want to become someone's student, if you want to get a master, you must be ready to become that person's servant. But if you have pride, you don't want to serve the person, but you want what they have. Good luck getting it. No one is just not unless the person is just too bored, they have too much time in their hands, they don't know what to do. Maybe still looking for disciples. Maybe you can get a teacher like that. But if you already find someone that already has students, they already have a life, their things, commitments and projects and stuff, it's not going to be that easy for you to connect with the person. I hope I've made myself very clear on that. So then get a mentor, that's tip number 2, but I'm also showing you how to actually easily secure a mentor. Find out how can you serve the person. Don't just go there, pushing your own vision forward, your own agenda forward, how quick you want to go there, how desperate you want it. It's like if you want to get a job, you're going for an interview. If you go for an interview, you get there and you show some desperation, maybe you even have like financial needs at home. You have things that really you need money. You can't go there and talk about yourself and how much you are broke and how much you have kids, they're crying, how much you need to provide. No, you go there, you sell yourself. Tell the person how is it's going to benefit them to hire you. Tell them why they need you. Tell them why you are the man, you are the woman for the job. why you are the one that they need to hire. You see, so now you're changing your approach. You're not going there just for you, but you go there for them to say, okay, what can I do for you? Or rather, this is what I can be able to bring on the table. So the same thing when you go into church context and you want someone to mentor you, you don't just go to them and demand their time and demand their knowledge and demand their grace and want them to just hand them to you like that. No. Find a way, how can I be of service to this person? Decide I'm going to be a servant of this person so that I can get closer to them, so that I can learn from them, so that they can be able to instruct me and mentor me. And you would have traveled 50% of your road by simply taking that position. It's very important. But let's leave that. Let's go into the third tip. The third tip is sometimes it's impossible. It's just sometimes you don't have such people around you. Right? It's just difficult to get such people. Maybe in your community, maybe in your nation, it's difficult. Sometimes you don't even have money. I mean, this is also one of the reasons I started this channel. When I started in the ministry, the people I would have loved to be mentored by, they were very far from me. I didn't have money to go to them. I didn't have money to buy their materials. I didn't have money to connect with them. So tip number 3 is going to help you if you are in that situation is you don't have anyone, you don't have access to anyone. Then you need to invest in prophetic materials. Okay, buy books in the prophetic. Get channels like my channel, this one in the prophetic. Invest in prophetic materials as much as you can. Download all my videos. Go buy books that you can get in the prophetic. Okay, and read. It's not going to be the same, but actually it can help you to a certain extent. It can actually even help you and cover you until the time wherein God connects you with a certain master. The Lord connects you with a certain teacher that can be able to take you under his or her wings and bring you up in the ways of the prophetic. You get it? So it's very important that you understand that it's very important. Invest. Okay, don't just spend all your money on clothes, brands, lunch, and all of that. I mean, if you are serious about the prophetic, you have confirmed it. It's very, very important to see your future. I'm going to talk about that on a later stage. It's very important for you to understand that. And then invest. Buy books. There's some good books in the prophetic. I believe one day I will do a video recommending prophetic books that I think actually they can help you as a student. If you can read those books, I will do that video. So yeah, that's tip number 3. If you can't find someone, you're in a church where there is no prophetic people, there's no ministry nearby where it's a prophetic ministry where you can go and get mentorship and a mentor stuff. Then the choice you have now is invest in prophetic materials, okay, and become part of online prophetic communities like this one. You're already watching me now. So invest, because the stuff I'm releasing here that are really gonna guide you, even if you don't have anyone where you are who can help you. I can be able to kind of guide you through these videos to walk a certain path, but you must be willing to travel that path yourself. So that's very important. Okay, tip number 4, you need to make prayer and fasting your lifestyle. Okay, if you are called into the prophetic, you need to pray and fast. It should become just your lifestyle. Okay, because so many people don't want these, key pillars and ingredients of, cultures and spiritual activities of being called to become a spiritual person, to become a prophet. They just want, man of God, just unlock my eyes. Man of God, I want to see in the spirit. Man of God, I don't see. Man of God. Remember, if you're called as a prophet, you're called to serve, you're called to become an official spokesperson of a certain God, of a certain deity. So, you need a relationship with your sending God. And how do you build a relationship? That relationship with your sending God is prayer. But you need to become more closer, more intimate with that God. And how do you get more closer to that God? You need fasting. So prayer as a prophet is going to help you to build a relationship with God as you're sending deity, because you are going to be going out in his name. You're going to be speaking in his name. So prayer then helps. But remember, there's no relationship without communication. And any relationship with that communication will suffer setbacks. You get it? The more, even if you have had a great relationship with someone, the more you don't talk to the person, the more you don't get to see each other with the person, the relationships begins to suffer. The same thing with the Lord. If you don't build your prayer life, you don't communicate with the Lord on a consistent basis, your relationship with God is going to suffer setbacks. Are you getting it? So, but fasting is going to help you to become more closer, to become sensitive and draw closer to your God. It's very important. So that's tip number 4. Make prayer and fasting your lifestyle. This is how you respond to the prophetic calling, to your prophetic call. This is how you can grow in the prophetic. I hope you're getting blessed. If you have not subscribed, I want you to consider subscribing, and also give this video a thumbs up. Also share it with your friends and your loved ones that are into the prophetic. Okay, let's continue. We're left with 2 tips, and then we're gonna be done. That was tip number 4, right? Tip number 5 is you need to join a prophetic community. Okay, don't be alone now. You know the Elijah syndrome. Elijah told God, I'm the only one left. There are people who think they are the only prophets. You understand? They think I'm God's man, I'm God's woman, I'm the man of the hour. There's no such a thing. God told Elijah, I have many more prophets. So part of growing in the prophetic and responding to the call of God, you want to be within a prophetic community, right? Because there are many other things. There's what I call impartation by association. You see, there's another principle: what you can see, you can do. So, and also your prophetic gift is going to feed off other prophetic ministers who are already moving in the prophetic. You're part of the community. You get the benefit of rubbing shoulders with people who are moving in the prophetic, to see them operating. But it's also feeding your own gift, because you're called for these things, but you're constantly in a place where you see people doing these things, teaching the prophetic, moving in the prophetic. It's very important. Again, someone might say, but prophet, I don't have prophetic communities in my church that I can go and become part of. It's possible. Still, you can join an online prophetic community. We have a prophetic community that we have built on Facebook. It's a prophetic group. It's over 4,000 people now. You can become part of that. We on Facebook. My timeline is all about the prophetic. My timeline is like a prophetic school. It's like the school of the spirit. You can become part of that. Right, but there are many other prophetic communities out there. You can follow whoever you want to follow, or you resonate with, and you feel you connect with. You can actually do that. But the thing is, make sure you are part of a certain prophetic community. You are there. You know, especially if you have a mentor, which takes us back to tip number 2. Your mentor must have a prophetic community. Right? If your mentor has a prophetic community and that person is your mentor, then it goes to reason that you're supposed to become part of that prophetic community. So you cannot say you have a mentor, but you are not even a member of the prophetic community of that mentor. Okay? You just maybe take a few instructions and then you go do things all by yourself. In fact, I see such people even on our online prophetic communities who they just have other communities that they belong to that are not even prophetic, but somehow they say, I'm their mentor. I don't know how does it work. But you have to become part of the community. You have to be there at all times and interacting and engaging and seeing others moving in the prophetic and learning from others, rubbing shoulders with your fellow students and stuff. It's going to help you to grow in the prophetic. This is one way that also is going to help you when you respond to your prophetic call. Okay, let's go to the last tip. The last tip I think is also as important as the first tip, is that you need to see your future in that calling. You need to see your future in that calling. This is very important. You see, so many people, they have been called by God into the prophetic. They never get to fulfill the calling. 5 years later, they are still singing a song of being called, but they're not fulfilling it. 20 years later, they're still a prophet, but they have a secular job, or they are not prophesying, they have no prophetic ministry, they are not a church prophet and stuff. But 20 years ago, they said they were called into prophetic. And you know why? It's because a lot of people, when they're called into the prophetic, they want to see it as a side thing. Yes, I'm called, but I need to. If God has called you, and it's not just a desire, because some people have a desire. to be in the prophetic because they see those moving in the prophetic and they envy them. And it looks like a cool thing to be in the prophetic. So then they would also claim that they have a prophetic calling. I'm called, I'm a prophet and stuff. But then time will reveal that this person is not actually really a prophet. They just love the prophetic and they're claiming to be a prophet. But if you're truly called to be a prophet, that's your vocation. That's your work life. That's your lot in life. That's your fate. Like that's the path you've been called to travel. And your everything is gonna come from that calling. Your food is gonna come from that calling. Your house is gonna come from that calling. Your car is gonna come from that calling. Whatever it is, that's why the last tip is you have to see your future in that calling. So there's some people who are called by God, but they are, remember, the Bible says those who are called to serve at the altar, they shall eat from what is brought on the altar. The Bible says those who preach this message, they will also make their living by preaching this message. So if you are called into the prophetic, you must not shy away from recognizing that even your provisions, they're going to come from your calling. It's very important. And so many people shy away from this, and this is why you find someone saying they have a calling, but they're not pursuing the calling. They're busy pursuing their boss at work. But you are saying God called you. Like, can you imagine God called me? I'm a prophet, but you're busy pursuing another boss. And the one, your boss, who is your father, who is the creator of the universe, you're not pursuing the call, fully pursuing the call, because you feel like maybe, God is evil compared to your boss. Because, if you work for God, God will not pay you. And your boss at work is going to be able to pay you. See, this is the attitude people give towards God when God calls them into the prophetic. So, but I want you to get this. If God has called you into the prophetic, you don't just have a desire, you don't just call yourself into the prophetic, you just put yourself in there. God's going to take care of you. So you need to look at your calling and pursue your calling as if your life depends on it, because it actually does. Get it? Like, this is very important. I see so many people claiming to be called, but they are more committed to their secular jobs more than they are committed to their spiritual job, more than they are committed to a spiritual calling, more than they are committed to a spiritual vocation. You can't say God has called you. I'm going to say this again. And I'm not saying people should leave work, by the way. All right? So if God has not called you to walk with him as a prophet, and God has not told you to leave off your work, you don't do it, because it's going to be painful, you're going to be broke, it's going to be bad. But I'm saying, you can't say you are a prophet, but you're so committed to your boss, you are so committed to secular, like worldly things, more than you are committed to that calling and spirituality. Like, you're not seeking the things of God. You're not pursuing that calling. You're not investing in that calling. You don't see your future in that calling. You actually are trying to even create different futures. You're trying to create different ways that you're going to sustain yourself, because you don't see your future and your provision and sustenance in that calling. But if you are truly called, and I'm going to emphasize that because there's so many people that actually call themselves into the prophetic, and it's dangerous, because then if you call yourself into the prophetic, then God is not going to, you're not in the payroll. Then so the Lord's not going to come through when you're actually the one who calls yourself into the prophetic and maybe leave your job and you call yourself. You are going to be in trouble, trust me. So, but if God called you, Jesus, when his disciples came back, he asked them a question. When I sent you out, did you lack anything? You see, Elijah, you remember when he locked the rain during the season of the famine, God sent ravens to come and bring him meat. That prophetically speaks of supernatural provision. So your provision is in your vision. Your provision is in your calling. Your provision is in your vocation. So if you are called into the ministry, you have to plan how you have to early plan, how am I going to transition fully into this thing? How am I going to fully give myself to this calling thing? And like, I was talking to one of my sons. He said something interesting. I didn't although comment much, but I liked what he said. He said to me, "Daddy, I don't have any plan B." He says, "This is my only focus. The call of God, ministry. This is what I want to do. I'm diving in." Right. But I was thinking to myself when we were having the conversation, this is the way to go. This is the guy who is going to make it in the ministry. This is the guy who's going to be able to fulfill the prophetic call of God upon his life, because he doesn't see any other plan. There's no plan B. So how many of you say you're called into the prophetic, but you have many plan Bs? Right? You're actually even trying to create fallback positions. What if I respond to the calling and I suffer? Then maybe you're not called. There's no one who can be called by God, respond to the call of God, and meet the demands of the calling and be poor. It's just impossible. Like, what are you talking about? It's impossible. If you respond to the call of God upon your life and you meet the demands of the calling, God's going to bless you. God is going to bless you. If you see someone saying they are called and they are poor and they're struggling, there are two things. There might be two reasons to their sufferings. One, maybe they are not called to the ministry, they call themselves. So if you call yourselves, you're gonna have to do everything. You understand? Because the Lord is not in it. You're actually all by yourself. Two, the person might be called but not meeting the demands of the calling. Not doing like I've seen people who are saying, I'm full-time in the ministry, but there's nothing. Like a person just sleeping, eating, watching television, hanging out with friends, traveling up and down, not knowing what they're doing, but they're saying, I'm full-time in the ministry. No, you're not full-time in the ministry, you're lazy. Because being full-time in the ministry, that means you have so much time in your hands. There's actually have to be something that you're doing. You must be able to point us to the work, to say, okay, this is what I'm doing. Okay, this is what I'm doing. And if you're not able to, like for example, there are full-time people who have not written any book, but you're full-time, but there's no book that we have written. Full-time, there's no church you have planted, there's no ministry, no disciples, nothing. Like full-time doing what? Full-time, you can't even pray 30 minutes, but you are full-time in the ministry. Like, what are you talking about? So there are such people who can say, okay, God, they can even be called into full-time ministry for real. But because they don't meet the demands of the call, they become poor and struggle in spite of them being called. And those who are being called now, they're looking at them, they're thinking, also, if I'm called, this is how things are going to go down for me. But you fail to see that the person, most people, actually all people who are suffering, they can be categorized into two groups. Who are suffering, who are called and suffering, they can be categorized into two groups. One, there's the group of people who call themselves into ministry, right? Then of course God's not going to sponsor that. It's not going to be part of that. Those people are not going to be part of God's payroll. And then two, people who are called into the ministry, full-time ministry, but they don't meet the demands of the calling. They don't even know their job description very well. They don't even carry out their assignment as they're called into the prophetic. They're going to suffer. So that being said, this is the last point, really, is you have to see your future in it. And seeing your future in it is going to help you to fully invest yourself, to be invested, your time, your resources, your money. You invest everything into the calling because you see your future in it. Are you getting it? I hope this has blessed you. May the Lord bless you. And thank you for those who joined us recently here on YouTube. I'm talking about new subscribers. May the Lord bless you. We're growing and we're growing fast. Our aim is to go on 1K because I'm looking forward to coming live here so that I can also take questions from you and things like that. So make sure you also tell your friends about our YouTube community and share, give the video the thumbs up, share on your social media platforms. There's a share option there. We share so that the more people discover our prophetic community, the quicker we're going to get to 1K. The quicker we get to 1K, the quicker you're going to get features like going live, wherein we're going to do Q&A sessions where you can get to interact with me, not just listening to me on record. Are you getting it? So thank you so much. That being said, this is Apostle Bongani Blacksmith, and I am signing out.